stopped.
Okay, it looks like on YouTube. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. As an eagle stirs up her nest, flutters over her young.
We're at Deuteronomy
chapter 32 and verse 11.
Okay.
As an eagle stirs up her nest, flutters over her young, spreads abroad her wings, takes them, bears them on her wings. So Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange awe with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat, and you did drink the pure blood of the grape. But Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked. You are waxen fat, you are grown thick, you are covered with fatness. Then he forsook Eloah, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
All right, so Yeshurun waxed fat. That is the upright ones. That's supposed to be us. We are upright through this word, Yashur, Yashurah. So the upright ones, when we increased because of his favor, because of his blessing that he gave us, this is when we further lightly esteemed the rock of our salvation. The rock of our salvation is this word, this foundation, the Mashiach, the Messiah. We lightly esteemed him. There's going to be a problem with that. We don't have to do anything about that. This is like 1 + 1 is going to equal 2. You jump up, you're going to come down. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You don't have to force that to happen. But like all those different things, you have to be patient for it to come about. Go ahead.
Verse 16. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Eloah, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat you, you are unmindful, and have forgotten all that formed you. And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not all. They provoke me to anger with their vanities. And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger.
And that was the verse I was telling you about, Elder. About provoke you with those that are not a people.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest pit, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs. I said, I will scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and Yahweh has not done all this.
All right, so we understand that even when he's dealing with us as a nation, oh, you best believe the nations that he's using to be the belt to our backside, there's going to be a recompense. That way, nobody else is going to take the glory. So when we step ourselves in that manner and try to take the glory from Yah, when what we're about to read is vengeance belongs to Yah, when we step in there and take that, then we get the glory because, look, you did that to me. This is what happens to you because I'm going to do this to you. We can't allow that to happen. Go ahead.
I want to just add one thing.
Go ahead, Elder.
I believe that verse 17, it's talking about these new guys that,
Mm-hmm.
that newly came up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the name Jesus.
Mm-hmm. These new names. Right.
Yeah, these new names
That sprung up after the, what, 1500s or something?
Right. 1500s. You know, about 400 or 500 years ago, this came up. You know. And he's talking about whom your fathers feared not, because they didn't fear because he didn't know him.
There wasn't no name to fear.
He wasn't around. You know, so our people have taken this fake name and made it a God and worship him. And this is why Yahweh is really angry with his people right now, because, you know, you breaking the commandments. You're breaking the covenants. And that's what we don't seem to understand. You know, but I'll stop there. You know, go on.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. Verse 28. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them and Yahweh had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons.
Wow.
And the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongs vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time.
In due time. In Yah's time. We don't know. There's so many things going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about. So this is why we have to be very careful when we take things in our own hands and try to correct the situation or try to deliver judgment on somebody. Because when you're given vengeance and recompense to somebody, you have judged that person. You have said, I know the end matter, and this is what the judgment is for that. And we are in a time of a grace period where everybody has an opportunity to repent as long as they're still alive. We can't take that away because it says in due time. We not due time. That's not us.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Also, when you think about it, we didn't ask to be alive. We didn't make the rules of life. We didn't say, sunrise in the east, go to the west. We didn't create how many sands are going to be on the sea. So being that we came into a situation and into this life completely unlearned, completely unknowing, and then come into an understanding that there's a higher being behind all of this, we should look at life with a more perceptive eye, assessing everything we go through. The scriptures say, give thought to your way. So look at the way your feet is going. Look at the places where you have slipped. Look at where Yah has given you firm footing, and assess the situation so Yah can teach you. And then as far as it comes to recompense and anger, none of that has been given to us. Right. We should be in a more perceptive understanding, knowing that we have a lot of ground to cover, knowing that we're born and we're way high in the mountain and we got to learn to fly, come out the nest, Right. So we definitely have to be perceptive, be learning, and allow ourselves to be teachable. And like the scripture is saying, like Yah is boasting about the recompense and the correction of his sons and his daughters belongs to his hand. And he's going to handle it in due measure. We just have to show that we're open to receive whatever from Yah's hand, whether it be chastising, whether it be blessing, whether we just know that he's going to do whatever is in our best interest.
Right. And a good analogy for that is like a clock. Mm-hmm. Imagine if the parts and the moving parts of a clock, the gears and all that, became conscious of themselves. Imagine that. And then one piece decides, I'm not going to move according to what I'm going to move. Time is altered. It's off. It's incorrect. Something that now you got to wind it to fix it. Something has to be done. And this is what we do when we decide that we are going to change something. And we don't have enough information to know what we need to change and what we don't need to change. All we know is we're supposed to move forward. Or we supposed to, when this clicks, the other click. The gear hits this gear and it moves. And that's all we know. And when we take things into our own hands, especially before it's time, we haven't seeked diligently. And part of that seeking diligently is learning the will of the Most High, learning righteousness, learning how to judge righteously. This is what this whole playing field, this sandbox that we're in, is to learn how to judge righteously, because we are going to judge angels. But if we don't know how to judge properly, especially ourselves, properly, when we enact vengeance and recompense on somebody or judgment on something, we may be moving against the will of the Most High. And anything that moves against the will of the Most High is going to be destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 35. To me belongs vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For Yahweh shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are their gods? Their rock in whom they trusted.
Where's your money? Where's your money? Where's all your money? Yeah, your money ain't worth nothing now, huh? You can't buy ammo with your money. You got all this money. It's not worth nothing. Oh, he's not trying to trade his gold, his food for your gold, because he don't need your gold. Where then? Where's your God? Or when you make yourself a God and you on your deathbed, well, deliver yourself from your death. Regenerate. You have something, Elder?
No, go ahead.
All right, go ahead, brother.
Verse 38. Which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies and will reward them that hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O you nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. And Moshe came and spoke all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he and Hoshea the son of Nun.
All right, Hosea, which is Joshua, the son of Nun. So this is a song that he's singing. So we think, our lyrics might be a little too hardcore and a little aggressive. This is what the priest was singing. This is what the Levite was singing. Go ahead.
Yeah, we gonna slash you and fill his sword
Make
with the
my
blood.
Arrows drunk with blood, man. This not no baby I love you to the moon and the stars. Go
if
ahead.
I whet my glittering sword. And Moshe made an end of speaking all these words to all Yashral. And he said unto them, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which you shall command your children to observe and do, all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life.
It's not a vain thing for you. People try to convince you that this is vanity, that you keeping these commandments and you saying, well, I'm not going to do this because of this law, because of these commandments. Oh, that's an old book. That ain't got nothing to do with, that was thousands of years ago. Like thousands of years ago, they had some different kind of emotion. Like jealousy is new. Jealousy is 20 something years old. No. These are the same emotions. It's just we have more capability to sin. That's the only difference. So his will is going to be done. All the things that he says that he's going to do is going to happen, is not vain. But the words of man is vain. Whatever come to man's mind, his own understanding, is going to come out. That's vanity if it's not according to the truth of this word. That's vanity. And it might sound good for a minute when they tell you, oh, Jesus nailed that to the cross. You good to go. Hey, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, because that's what the Old Testament say. So you should go ahead and do what they did to you. All these different things. And it sound nice, but at the end of the day, things got to be put in its proper context and its proper timing of things. In due time, in his due time. Go ahead. Verse 47.
For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. And through this thing you shall prolong your days in the land where you go over Jordan to possess it.
All right. Now, prolong your days in the land, Jerusalem, Israel. Jerusalem is also the assembly to prolong your life amongst your people without being cut off. It's always talking about you shall be cut off from among your people. How you cut off from among your people is when you lose that spirit. Once that spirit is gone, you're a different entity. You are now cut off because you don't have the spirit to guide you to stay part of the assembly because you're without a wedding garment. Go ahead.
Verse 48. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe that selfsame day, saying, Get you up into this mountain Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho.
And Abarim, that's the Hebrew word for Hebrew. Abarim, Ibarim. Go ahead.
And behold the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Yasharal for a possession. And die in the mount where you go up, and be gathered unto your people, as Aaron your brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people. Because you trespassed against me among the children of Yasharal at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Yasharal.
You sanctified. You didn't separate me. You allowed another entity, another spirit to come in here and cause a problem. And that all came out of wrath and anger. And we're going to read that story, y'all's will, a little bit later. Go ahead.
I want to say something.
Go ahead, Elder.
I know I heard somebody back talking about this, that they don't believe Moshe made it, And I can't say that's true because Yahweh was stopping Moshe and dealt with Moshe because Moshe had a higher office than the people and anyone else around him. And he had to act accordingly. And he stepped outside of himself and gave an opening to the enemy. And Yahweh would not allow him to disrespect him, period, but yet disrespect him in front of the people in what he's trying to teach. He chose you for a charge to handle his business. And you let in your flesh. Because the people got you angry, and we know how people can get us angry. And he sinned before Yahweh by not speaking to the rock, by beating the rock. And Yahweh blessed the people with the water, but yet he's going to deal with his servant for not sanctifying him, and that was the penalty. But you can see later on in Scripture, when Yeshua came online, that Yeshua was in the mountains and he appeared with, I believe, another brother. And his disciples said, let us build a monument, to you, to Moshe, and I think Elijah, I believe.
Yeah, it was Elijah.
And Yeshua had to deal with that, because how you trying to make a God out of Moshe. But if Moshe did not make it, he wouldn't have been there.
Right.
You see? But, people speak out of turn. They have a zeal, a zealousness to teach the word, with power. But sometimes they get ahead of themselves and don't realize they're making an error, trying to make an appointment. So
right.
I wanted to bring that up because if somebody else hears that, at least you hear that, it also expounds on that, in the New Testament, in the presence of Yeshua.
Right.
So I want to bring that point up.
You find yourself in a problem anytime you trying to count somebody outside of the kingdom, especially a servant, an anointed servant of the Most High. You do yourself a great disservice. I heard people saying Shlomo is counted out of the kingdom. That might very well be, but that ain't our decision to make. He said, I will have mercy on whom I will, and won't have mercy on whom I won't. So just the same way we can't count somebody in the kingdom. If that was the case, I count everybody in this room in the kingdom.
That's right.
But we don't have that. So it's kind of a foolish argument to try to convince somebody that they're not going to be in the kingdom, especially when you got prophecies and all kind of stuff showing this person appearing after his death.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just a foolish argument on a brother to try to convince somebody that Moshe is not going to make the kingdom. So anybody who died is not going to make the kingdom? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 52. Yet you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go there unto the land which I give the children of Yasharal.
All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 24. Mishlei chapter 24.
Yahweh do not play favorites. Yahweh will not pervert judgment for the sake of man. He's not a respecter of persons. I mean,
especially when you're in leadership, he got to make an example. So the Most High has laws in place and instructions for us to follow to avoid our flesh from getting in that spirit, from making it susceptible to receive those emotions of wrath and anger and jealousy and lust and envy and haughtiness and pride and all those different things that will cause us to do a transgression to satisfy the flesh quickly of that feeling that it's getting. So we are taught to develop our mind to think a certain way. And that's part of repenting, is to change the way that you think about something. Not only changing the action, but the way you think about something. And there's going to be a lot of that reprogramming of the brain, because we have been taught by a wicked system how to do certain things, how to, be selfish and care about ourselves over our nation and over another individual, because we are in control. We are somehow masters of ourselves. And that's not the case.
Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 24, beginning at verse 1. Be not you envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them. For their heart studies destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. Through wisdom is a house builded, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel you shall make your war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too high for a fool. He opens not his mouth in the gate. He that devises to do evil shall be called a mischievous person. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. If you forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain, if you say, behold, we knew it not, does not he that ponder the heart consider it? And he that keeps your soul, does not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works?
So the thought of foolishness is transgression, because a thought is a seed that allows an action to grow. So when you think, when you are allowing yourself to believe that it is justified in you recompensing somebody or delivering wrath on somebody because you are angry, you are forbearing to deliver them. If they have transgressed it against you, then you got a right to be angry. He never said don't be angry. He said don't sin through your anger. So we have to recognize that I'm angry so that you know, okay, foolish thoughts might come into my head because of this situation. And when you're angry and you're just thinking about yourself because of the pain you're going through or the hurt, then you will forget and miss out that this is a time of adversity. This is when you're supposed to be trying to help that, because they're heading towards danger, especially if you are in righteousness at the time and they're coming against you. They're in a dangerous spot. But instead, we think, oh, you know, I can't believe you did this to me after all I've done and at this or I have never even done nothing to you. I don't even know you, but you're doing this to me. This is when you really need to say, hey, brother or sister, you might want to slow that down, because you're heaping up a lot of judgment on yourself. But instead, we allow that thought of foolishness to come into our head, which is now going to grow into a sin. And now two sinners, how are they going to help each other? Two people falling on the floor, they both on the floor. Who's going to help one up? Ain't nobody there to help you up. Just there to keep each other down.
Verse 12, verse 11.
13.
Oh yeah, verse 13. My son, eat you honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto your soul when you have found it. Then there shall be a reward, and your expectation shall not be cut off. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falls 7 times and rises up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. Rejoice not when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest Yahweh see it and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him.
Not only that, but when you rejoice and when your enemy falls, you just might kick him when he's down. And that's going to be a problem. Go ahead.
Oh, you know, are you saying these things?
Go ahead, Elder.
I just wanted to add, maybe many people remember this, the state. I just can't remember exactly where it's at right now, but it goes, taking every thought and casting it down. How you say it? Casting every thought that rises to the throne of Yah. I believe because every thought that comes to your head is not good. And we all make mistakes in doing this. Out of our anger. My brother just said, we get angry. We're not supposed to sensual anger, but sometimes we do. And then we fail by taking every thought and trying to exalt ourselves above the throne of Yahweh, and we have to cast it down. We allow it to stay, and that's our mistakes. And if this happens to us, we have to remember to repent for those thoughts, judge those thoughts for what they are. Realize what they are, and then you have to realize it just came out of your head. It's coming out of your heart, and we're not supposed to act that thought out because it goes against Yahweh's throne.
Right.
So I can't remember the whole verse, but that's basically how it goes.
Right.
So it's a thought for us to think about.
Right. I believe it was the one about don't take everything that the servant says against the master or whatever, because you too have cursed. Is that one you're talking about?
No, that's another one that goes along with that. This one says, don't take all thoughts that try to exalt itself above the throne of Yah.
Casting down imaginations.
Cast down even imaginations.
Right.
They exalt themselves against the knowledge of Mashiach.
That's right.
And you got to think to yourself, okay, if somebody did something to you and that brought out this wrath, this anger, this violence, and all this stuff, where did it come from?
Yeah, what triggered it?
Where did it come from? It came from your heart, like what the elders say. So this was already dormant. Why is that in there?
Yes.
There's an issue. So that means all the adversary has to do to get you to be this person that you are not is just test you. Put the heat up a little bit. And this is supposed to burn away your impurities when he cuts the heat up. But instead, when the heat gets cut up on you, it's like, oh, here it go. This was in hiding. This was in hiding. Oh, there he is. There she is. Was looking for her. There she is. Go ahead. And we're at Proverbs chapter 24. And what verse?
17.
And verse 17.
Rejoice not when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest Yahweh see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Fret not yourself because of evil men, neither be you envious at the wicked, for there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out.
And how much worse recompense or judgment can you have? Can you give somebody? That their candle, their spirit, their light is put out. Period. They're in darkness. You can't dish out a worse punishment than that. So why would you want that for anybody? So you should always try to keep your mind frame in a situation. How can I help that person? First, you got to say, well, how can I help myself not end up in this situation? And once you're able to calm yourself, well, how can I help this person? Sometimes helping them is just cutting them off for a time and say, I can't deal with you. I'm going to have to step away because you about to, cause me to get my pearls, rend.
Right.
You about to run out my, like Jonathan always say, you about to run out my spirit. I ain't got, I ain't finna run out my oil. I had enough to
reserves.
I had enough to get to the end of the race, whenever that be. So you burning it a little bit too fast. But either way, you have to think. And it's difficult. It's very difficult, especially for us hot-tempered people. It's very difficult to think that way. But how long are we going to still be suffering with that same weakness over and over again? Are you not learning? Are you not purging that out of yourself? And it might take your entire life, but every situation, it should be a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Seeing that Yah has laws here set up where it says there shall be no reward to the evil man. And we also know in Deuteronomy, Yah says he shall not justify the wicked. Mm-hmm. So if Yah has a reward for us, and we still have little inklings of evil in here and there and here in us, and he's like, yo, I got justify that. I can't justify that. I have this reward here for you, and I want you to have it. So I'm gonna have to put you through some stuff that's gonna remove a lot of these evils in you, or else you're gonna lose your reward. And it's Yah is our advocate. He's our public defender. And he's actually trying to work out the case in any way he can to work in our favor. This is your reward, and I want you to have it. It pleases me for you to have this, but it's against all my laws to allow you to enter through Zion's gate with uncleanness. Because it says, there shall no thing that defiles enter into the kingdom.
Or maketh a lie.
Or anything that maketh a lie, or anything that makes uncleanness. So if you have that on you, if 90 whatever percent of you is fine, and it's still that 8 to 10% that's like, I was like, I can't even allow that. I can't allow that spot on your garment here. How about this? Take that all off and bid me to give you these pure white linen garments. Since you're having trouble, allow me to fill in the gap where you can't even get to 100%. I've made propitiation for that.
And what's going to fill that in?
Just the sacrifice made, the righteousness of Hamashiach.
The word, his sacrifice, period. So if you are spotted, you better have that word. Yep. You better have the Messiah that's like, no, I cleaned this off. Because you see right here, he repented, or he fought with this. His mind was meditating. He did the best he could to keep his mind on this word to help him react properly. But he's imperfect. So I'm going to make him perfect. So like you said, the judge, the defender is like, look, I'm trying to give you this. I'm trying to give you this. And you're still not good enough. And the only thing you got left is the of your salvation. The last thing you got to stand on is this
life
word.
Jacket.
And if you ain't got that because you deemed it vain thing, there's nothing. You have nothing. Like the elder said, you're going to drown in a lake of fire. That's it.
Right there in Revelations chapter 3, verse 18, Hamashiach beckons us. He says, I counsel you to buy of me gold tried in the fire, since the fire that's on you ain't getting everything out. Counsel me that I could give you this gold, provide my righteousness, my spiritual riches. I counsel you to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that you may be rich, and white raiment, that you may be clothed, and that the shame of your nakedness do not appear. And anoint your eyes with eye salve, that you may see. As many as I love, I rebuke and chalice. I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous and repent. So this is Revelations chapter 3.
But who's recompensing and chastising?
That's Yah.
Yah's doing that. He's doing that. Now, he may do that through another servant. But at the end of the day, if that servant is doing it in unrighteousness and not in self-defense or a situation in certain we had no choice, then there's going to be recompense on that servant for touching the apple of Yah's eye, one way or another.
3:18. Yep. So the best thing we could do, realizing that we screwed up this whole thing. It's like when you get into debt and you realize like, yo, I'm so far in debt, I might as well just splurge, or when you're so far in the pit, you feel like you're just gonna go sink. Some people just lose their faith, but he comes and he's trying to provide an extra way out. And like, look, your whole situation is messed up. You're in quicksand. The more you move, you keep sinking deeper and deeper. I counsel you, attend to my righteousness. Abandon whatever you thought and what you knew. All you gotta do, submit. Forgive your brethren. Person ask you to go 1 mile with them, you go with them 2. Give to those who ask to borrow, you don't even ask for it back. Like little stuff he asks us to do to show that we're worthy of his riches that he gave unto us. And that's about it.
Right.
This is Proverbs chapter 25 verse 21. My son, fear you Yahweh and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change.
Now that word meddle means do not yoke yourself. Do not intertwine yourself with somebody that's given to change, because you are going to be in the same folly that they are in. So you can't, it said two cannot walk together, at least they agree. You walk together as long as you can until the point where, okay, you about to go in transgression. The narrow path is right here. I can't walk that path with you. You're not helping somebody by doing that. So this is when it says you see somebody as given to change, as much as you want to grab a hold of them and pull them back in. If somebody is drowning and you're trying to save them and they will not allow you to save them, you're going to have two people drown unless you let go. Go ahead.
Verse 22, for their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin of them both. These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. He that says unto the wicked, you are righteous, him shall the people curse. Nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them.
And this is why everybody hate America. Because America's sitting here saying, oh, you're righteous. You're a good man. Trump is like, yeah, this guy's a good man. Are you kidding me? A KKK leader and this, that, what? He a good man? So the nations are looking like, man, listen, we got dirty laundry. We treating the children of Israel like crap too. But, man, look at y'all. Go ahead.
Verse 26. Every man shall kiss his lips that gives the right answer. Prepare your work without, and make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterwards build your house. Be not a witness against your neighbor without cause, and deceive not with your lips. Say not, I will do so to him as he has done to me. I will render to the man according to his work.
Do not say to him that is done to me, I will render to the man according to his work. You don't know why the Most High allowed this. This is, again, he's putting us through the fire. He's trying to purge these things. And part of that he's trying to purge out of man from the very beginning is that anger. The anger that will cause you to kill your own brother. Because at the end of the day, anger is anger. It don't matter whether it's a justified anger or whether, you could just be angry for no reason. And if you are in a habit of acting on that emotion, sooner or later it's going to come to a point where it doesn't even matter if you right or wrong, because you just want to satisfy that flesh. So this is the things that we have to practice. Practice not being that way, not rendering evil for evil, so that you can get those chakras under control, that spine. Get it under control. Go ahead.
Verse 30. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down.
Because he's not working on that husbandry. He's not putting in that works to produce good fruit. He's just sitting back saying, I'm fine the way I am. And this is going to be the end of that. Go ahead.
Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. He received instruction from even the wicked, the slothful. He allowed himself to be taught by them. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall your poverty come as one that traveleth, and your want as an armed man.
All right. Let's go to Bereshit chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4. We're going to look at that same wrath that we talked about. And these are brothers. When you allow your anger and your wrath to not be controlled, it's just multiplies to the point where anybody can get it. It don't matter. Women, children, child, stranger, neighbor. I remember one situation where, and I was in the word, that my anger was so out of control. A lady did not want to let me in an apartment complex for whatever reason. She could have been robbed before. I don't know what it is, man. And she stopped mid and let the thing come down. It was about to scratch up my vanity. and I hopped out that car so fast, like I was ready to get down. And a woman stepped out the car, and I just my countenance fell to the ground. I was really willing to go to war on some BS that was not important. And it's a woman on top of that. So I went home feeling so defeated because, I was probably 1 or 2 years in the word. And I just I knew better. Went home feeling defeated. The next day, I saw the woman drive and I saw where she went and I saw her husband. I went out and I apologized to her husband. And I said, listen, man, you know, I know that if anybody would have bucked out the car, my wife, there'd have been wrath and recompense. So, you know, I wouldn't put nobody in that situation. And I apologized and told her, you know, I'm a servant of the Most High. And I had the Yad Hey Wah Hey on the front of the car. It was just total blasphemy of Yah's name.
Bad fruit.
Just because of I allowed my temper and my anger to be so easily. My trigger was so easy, a hairpin trigger, because it was going unbridled for so long. And I didn't recognize that. I didn't recognize that. And this is why these commandments are put in place to keep us from getting to that stage.
Aki, at the end of the day, it's in Proverbs, you know, the controllers of the soul. The man who has control of his soul is better than he that takes a city. So if we can overcome by the Spirit of Yah, overcome those impulses and those carnal desires, those lusts of the flesh. The flesh lusts for these things. Like, it's so easily provoked out of us in the most smallest and most childish of situations. And when we become cognizant of that, we're like, man, you could be 40, 50 years old, realize you still have that. You realize, man, I'm still childish. I still have very childish tendencies to give heed to my own tantrums. And that's all it is, throwing tantrums like a little 3-year-old. And we have to grow better than that, at least have the innocency of mind to be okay with acknowledging that in ourselves, so that Yah can step in and be like, okay, you confessed. Same way when we want hit that propitiation, or we want to get debt consolidation, you say, all right, I confess, I'm bankrupt. I got no bread.
I ain't gonna be able to pay this. Right.
You know, so we confess those things, let it out, don't let go of the pride. And then he comes in and he starts, I don't know, I guess the essence of the Spirit is just like an oil. It massages away. It's like an ointment. It's a balm for your soul, for the spirit. And Yah brings healing there where there was once treachery and every corrupt thing. Wherever there's strife, I don't remember the scripture, but it was like wherever there's vainglory or something, there's strife and every sort of wickedness. And we just can't let that stay, especially if we're called those servants.
Right. So here we're in Genesis chapter 4, and we're going to this act of anger and wrath, and see how this spirit has just moved and carried further on.
You know, a good way to think about it too, our souls lust for those, to give heed to those emotions the same way we lust for meat. And we lust to have a lot of carnage and blood. Our bodies lust for that. And we have to learn how to curtail that and give ourselves some spiritual vegetables and some spiritual good fruit.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't control eating unclean food, how are you going to control not knocking your brother over the head when he just do something, or how control not sleeping with that woman that you just desiring so much, but she belonged to somebody else? You can't even control just not eating something. Not eating something because the Most High said don't do it. Then how are you going to avoid that emotion? That's just the basic. That's just the bottom layer of getting that lust in control.
Indeed. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and unto his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
All right, so he was angry at the situation. And because he was angry, he's allowing his anger to create a situation for him. Whereas he had a brother that he could have just asked, well, why did Yahweh accept you? Well, did you give him the best that you had? No, I didn't. I just grabbed something because I wanted to eat the big carrot or whatever the case may be. Cain, he just gave him whatever, here. He just gave him some stuff. But Abel, he said he brought him the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof, which is the choice pieces that he gave. So this is an opportunity that if you are being accepted, by the Most High and you have a brother there, instead of getting angry because he is doing something that is being accepted of the Most High, why not talk to him and say, hey, what can I do? Where am I going wrong? But pride and anger and I'm better than him and this, that, and the other and sibling rivalry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Verse 6, and Yahweh said unto Cain, why are you wroth? And why is your countenance fallen? If you do well, shall you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin lies at the door, and unto you shall be his desire, and you shall rule over him.
All right, so again, it's sin. The thought of foolishness is sin, is transgression. So now that you have that thought of foolishness because you're angry, you're thinking, I should do this, I should do that. The sin is lying at the door. It's waiting for you to act on that. And once you act on that and you allow that to manifest, now it's your desire. Now you're just continuing with it. It's just going to keep going and going and going. It's just like a lie. Once you tell that little white lie and then you get caught in it, instead of just saying, I lied.
Mm-hmm.
No. I went there, but before I did that with Chris. You mean Chris that's right there? Chris, where y'all? Not that Chris, the other Chris that was. Oh, okay. You mean the one that moved back to California?
Mm-hmm.
So he's he had moved to California, and it just keeps going and going because the flesh is so comfortable. That gate that's to stop you from transgressing is wide open. Now every spirit and all manner of spirit is willing to just come right through because you opened the gate. You opened the gate.
That is very similar to the palate and our appetites. You have carnal appetite with the food that you eat, and then you have a spiritual appetite. And not to say I've fully dealt with all of it, but I can remember when I wasn't necessarily cognizant of the angry spirit, or at the end of the day, I'm gonna call it what it is. It's a satanic spirit. It's an evil spirit. Mm-hmm. It's the devil. Mm-hmm. And just like when you change your appetite from meats, you eat more, plant-based. You might have a few meat here and there, but you start gaining a taste for the vegetables again. You're like, oh man, I remember what celery tastes like.
You don't need a gallon of salad dressing on your salad anymore.
Or salt. Like you don't need the extras to get the taste of the food. And the same thing happens in your spirit, to where that carnality is beginning to leave you, and your appetite, your spiritual appetite, is beginning to change. And you're like, hold on, I don't like the taste of that anger and that evil. And you become more sensitive to the fruits of the spirit. Mm-hmm. You're more sensitive to the meekness and the gentleness and the kindness. You're like, let me let this reside here. Let me get used to this appetite. Then when the devil comes, at the end of the day, when Satan himself show up, or whatever angel is sent, or whatever demonic spirit is sent to use you at that period of time, you taste it. You're like, nah, I can tell.
This is salty.
Yeah, I haven't had salt in forever. I haven't had this. I haven't had this meat. I haven't had this. And you know what's unclean is. Yahshua said it. You washing the outside of the cup, but the inside of the cup is unclean. Mm-hmm. The hatred, the lying, and the adulteries, those are the uncleanness that's being born in you. That's demonic. It's satanic. The white is sepulchre. So over time, you begin to get more sensitive spiritually, and you can taste the evil. You can feel it and know it. And as soon as you feel it coming near, if you're not wise, if you haven't been through enough of those trying situations to know exactly how to respond, and that appetite isn't all out of you, you just gotta abstain. Just like it says, flee fornication. What's the antidote for fornication? Flee it. Don't even talk.
Yeah.
Like you don't
abstinence.
You don't have. There's no in between way to deal with it. It says just flee it. Get away from it. Y'all not strong enough to deal with that. And I don't know who would like to flirt with such a seducing spirit. Let it go.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it. Right. And
Right.
then when those trying situations, then that uncleanness shows up, that pork, that shrimp, spiritually, you don't go,
You're not even considering.
You don't play around with it and flirt with it. Oh, this is all this pork.
Cockroach of the
Let
sea.
me rub it on my neck. You don't like play. You can't dance with this. You can't.
You start getting nauseous when you see this stuff.
No, you're supposed to reject it. So stop playing around with. Let me just be a little angry. Unless you do have gained that mastery where you understand that you can't allow everyone to walk over you. Sometimes you may have to induce, make it seem as though you're angry. You really don't care, but sake of people who need to learn what boundaries they should and should not cross.
More authority.
Okay, yeah, to have put some authority on it. And it said, but be ye angry, but don't sin. So you can, this is the line you don't cross. Don't you ever do that again. And you know your boundary, know your limit, because you can feel the enemy like, oh snap, is that my cue?
He speaks with such authority.
The enemy comes and he sees like he's perceiving, and he's like, oh, I think that's my cue to enter. Sound like anger. He's like, nah, I got this. I know the limitation. I spoke on this. I spoke with authority. I don't have to repeat myself. And then you invite the spirit of meekness, kindness, gentleness to, get your soul in order. And this is something you discern. It's not necessarily expressly written, but you discern how to operate with the spirit because it's teaching you. Yah has given you the template on how to get it, but you become the expert. You got to practice. You got to put these things.
That's what that reminds me. It reminds me of the ground phase.
Yeah.
When we first started the ground phase, we're trying to flip somebody off of us on the ground, and the first thing is you sitting here just trying to force this person off of you, and then the more you practice, you learn how the body moves, the nuances, and you start getting sensitivity, and you start feeling he's leaning over here. Whoop, there he is. He's flipped over, and it's the same thing with these emotions. Okay, I start to see that I'm leaning over this direction. Well, let me quickly turn back this way, so that it's easy. You're already taking the momentum that way.
And if we become good at those things and weak in the operation of our own soul, we're backwards. Get right with the operate. That's why Yeshua said you could, you hypocrites or whatever, you could look at the eastern sky, you know what's gonna rain. And these things that you should perceive within your own self, you can't do. You're carnal. You're missing the point. Get back into introspection and the clarity of your mind, so that you can actually be the humans that Yah created you to be, discerning, feeling, and be able to judge your environment properly.
Right.
Verse 7. Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If you do well, shall you not be accepted? But if you do not well, sin lies at the door, and unto you shall be his desire, and you shall rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
This sin is just piling up. First of all, you lied. You did know where your brother was because you killed him. And then you're trying to get fresh with the Most High. So the sin is just piling up and piling up and piling up because you have removed the gate. And the spirits, what's in your heart is just pouring out. And his blood, and Yahweh be asking you rhetorical questions.
Will you confess your guilt?
He's trying to give you a chance to fix the situation, confess, confront, come out so you can look at your own deeds. But when you won't confess, that means you're not looking at your own deeds. You're stuck in justification.
And you could tell Cain just gave full heed to that demonic spirit. Don't care at all. Full pride. To the point where Yah is coming with righteousness and he's scorning the wisdom of Yah.
Right. I have gotten a man. That's what a man does. But a son of the Most High or a priest will operate differently.
A fool scorns their knowledge, and he's scorned everything right there. Verse 10. And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now are you cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand? When you till the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from your face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me shall slay me. And Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him.
All right, so he says anybody that slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him. But Cain, a murderer. Yahweh is still telling you from the beginning, look, vengeance belongs to me. I got this. I'm going to take care of this. And when you read the other stories in the Sefer writings, it tells you what happened to Cain. He got his.
And it's like, At the end of the day, this is Yah's divine family that came out of Eden. Yah took Adam from wherever he was, put him in the protected place.
In the garden, right.
Put him in the garden. Had to kick him out, but he knows that Adam had the divine intellect to teach his sons. And it's like Yah's like, am I gonna be bereaved of two of my sons in one day?
Right.
So whatever righteousness or whatever good or whatever of my spirit is left to sustain Cain, he wants to protect it. Right. To the point where he can negotiate with him like, look, I can't believe you did that to your brother.
Right.
You know, spoke to him. And then Cain was able to respond in a way that he mourned the severity of his punishment. But what it would do now is it'd be cognizant and probably even be regretful and repentant of the wickedness that he committed against his brother, so that Yah can at least salvage some level of repentance or some remorse from this murderer that just murdered a brother that came out of the divine family out of Eden.
Right. The
The last evidences of the riches of the fullness of that garden that Yah put them in the beginning. And they were offspring of that. And now one committed a egregious murder against the other. And Yah's like, I'm not trying to just be bereaved of all my sons in one day.
you
like
can't
this.
restore that.
Can't restore it.
You can't restore that when you take somebody's life. We're going to stop right there. We stopped at verse 15. We're going to go to a few more chapters down. Let's go to 27. Genesis chapter 27.
Yah causes it to rain on the righteous and the wicked.
So you're seeing a spirit of first jealousy because one was accepted over the other. Then you had an envy, you wanted what he had, which went into an anger, which developed into a wrath, which developed into murder. So you have all these different ranges. And he said, listen, if you all started with just doing the right thing. The right thing is when you do the wrong thing, do the right thing after that. That's the right thing, even if you didn't do the right thing to begin with. So when he did the wrong thing and didn't give the best he had, the right thing would say, hey, brother, what did you do? Like, why did the Most High not accept me? He accepted you. Can you help me get accepted by the Most High? But no, we forgot to stick the pride in there. The pride didn't want to do that. So he talked to him, and I can imagine how that conversation went because it ended in murder. So,
What,
Brother, I wanted to add to that.
go ahead, Elder.
I just wanted to add, in the New Testament they have a story, about two brothers and all, and if I can remember right, one of the brothers said that he was going to go do a thing, and never did it. And the other brother said that he's not going to do it. He got angry and stuff like that.
But he did it.
And took care of that business. And I think it also goes, hand in hand with this because, you got one brother that's talking about when he got mad and angry so forth that he said, I am doing this. He was in a bad spirit, and yet it was wrong for him to, if he went against what his father asked him to do and said, I'm not doing it, and then just don't do it. Then he's sinning in his anger.
Right.
But yet he thought about it and he went to do the right thing. So he corrected his sin. Before it became true sin. You know what I mean? Like so about when we think about these things, we make it sin and we follow up with this. Then a sin that sin brings forth death because we develop that sin into the sin now.
The thought, right?
The same as this, if he would have thought about, his anger and would have spoke about his anger, why is he so angry, then he probably would have received information to understand that anger is being prompted by a spirit to push your flesh, and once your flesh is pushed to a certain level, to a certain height, you can't control yourself.
Right.
You don't even know yourself.
Right.
And so now you committed a big sin. You not only committed a sin in thinking about it and then performing it, but now your brother's lying on the ground dead. You know what I mean? You committed the first murder.
Right.
Now the world knows because the blood screamed out as he touched the ground, as he found drainage. Now what you've done, you injured your mother, you injured your father. You're killing their second child. You know what I mean? So that's the first murder in earth.
Right.
So I mean, yes, we see that first murder is printed in scripture so we can understand, you know, the sin of Cain. You know, but it also is translated to us later on in life on how we, you know, sin through our anger. You know, and we don't have to commit a physical murder, but we can murder some person's character.
Right.
And injure him in that manner, you know. I mean, they tell you in scripture, you know, okay, you only about sin against. You understand? You know, but yet did you? You not only just sinned against the Father, you sinned against that person also. You injured that person. You know, you go now and apologize and repent to the Father, but you're not going to make that thing right with your brother. You know, tell him or tell her you're sorry for what you've done. You understand? Because you need to get it right with her or him. Because now you injured that person. You know, and you might make them start singing their heart because you acted as the adversary did.
Right.
You goading them. You
Right.
understand? So, you know, I know there's probably a whole lot more you can speak about this, you know, but I just want to bring that point up.
Right. Now that was a good point. You know, that first son, his thought was to do the right thing. Yeah, I'll do it, but his actions was transgression.
Yes.
The other one, his thought was to do transgression, but he recognized that no, this was wrong, and he turned around and did the right thing. So he didn't allow that thought of foolishness to manifest into the action.
Yes.
A while ago, Aki, you had mentioned the progression that Cain went through, the envy turned into this, turned into that. And basically, the way we could look at it is the temperature gauge. You know, just like on a car, it's running cool, we good. Certain things you start seeing, the envy, the anger, start saying, I'm overheating.
Right.
And Cain just blew the whole motor. He didn't stop it before it went all the way, blew a radiator, something died. He blew the motor.
Right.
You know, so we have to pay attention to our own temperature gauge, our own instrument panel, and see, all right, certain things is out of whack. Bad fruits is being manifested here, bad fruits being manifested here. Let me bring it back. Let me go to the soul mechanic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He go fix it right.
And the problem is when you like it.
Yeah.
You like feeling that way. You like doing that, and that's the issue. Like you said, your palate should change. Where this is bitter. This is not good.
Indeed.
So we've moved on to Bereshit chapter 27. Genesis chapter 27.
And it came to pass that when Yitzchak was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray you, your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. And Rebekah heard when Yitzchak spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spoke unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak unto Esau your brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless you before Yahweh before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command you.
All right. So some would say, oh, Rebecca was in transgression because, she's doing this sneaky thing. But you got to remember, she was told from the womb that the elder was going to serve the younger. Now she's seen her husband, who's the head, going against the commandment of the Most High. So she's doing what she got to do to save her family. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Now therefore, my son.
Verse 9.
Oh, we're at verse 9.
Verse 9.
Go now to the flock and fetch me from there 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be your curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched, and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were in her house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kid of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done according as you bade me. Arise, I pray you, sit in eat of my venison, that your soul may bless me. And Yitzchak said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me. And Yitzchak said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray you, that I may feel you, my son, whether you be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto his father Yitzchak, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. That's a parallel between carnality and the spirit. The still small voice, or the thunder and the lightning. Which one? Verse 25. Go ahead, Elder.
I want to add to that too. If you look at it, well, first his mother had to be asking the chef because he was going to get whatever deer or was out there, venison and so forth. But she turned the goats, two kids of the goats, to make. So she must have really been a heavy chef to have that flavor, that he would have determined the difference between goat and venison, And then you're looking at she took it upon herself to take that curse upon herself if he would obey her voice, because she was going to follow the prophecy given to her by Yah. So she wanted to make a point here.
Right.
Say, I believe what Yah told me, the angel gave me. So I'm going to make this happen because I know he showed me this is the time this is about to happen. It's going down right now. So my son, he's more of a, not a man's man, he's more of a timid brother, you understand? He stays home, takes care of the flock, takes care of the family, He takes care of people there in the village and so forth, kids to his mama. So, she got to make this happen. So he said, no, do what you got to do. You understand? To make this prophecy come true. Whatever happens, the curse be on me. Just don't handle his business. So I give her props for whatever happens. You understand? She gonna make Yahweh's business happen because she believed in the prophecy. All he had to do was obey. You understand what his mama said do? And that bird is still obeying what Yahweh said do. But yet, hey, think about it. He just lied upon Yahweh, but yet, that Yahweh gave it to him. No, Yahweh gave the prophecy to your mama for you.
Right.
So I'm just saying, this is how you can really look at this, break it down. Hey, he lied, but he gonna pay for that lie. You understand later on. But he is gonna receive the blessings of Yahweh because he's gonna be obedient unto Yahweh.
I know, and the mother could see that the older son Esau, he lightly esteemed the spiritual gifts.
That's right.
He wanted the carnal gifts. He wanted the carnal things. So she knew.
Yeah.
A mother knows their child. They know the differences between their children, just like a father does. Go ahead.
The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are of Esau. Verse 23. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Are you my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yitzchak said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Yahweh has blessed.
Smell like outdoor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Therefore, Elohim give you of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let the people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone that curses you, and blessed be he that blesses you. And it came to pass, as soon as Yitzchak had made an end of blessing Jacob, And Yaakov was yet scarce gone out from the presence of his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting.
So cursed be those that curse Yaakov, and blessed be those that bless Yaakov. We don't say cursed is any nation, any other nation other than Israel that curse Israel. Anybody, period. So you curse your brother when you see him in transgression and you decide, I'm going to do the same thing he did. And you curse yourself. So you even cursing yourself. You even more curses on yourself. Go ahead.
Verse 31. And he also made him savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that your soul may bless me. And Yishak his father said unto him, who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. And Yishak trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that has taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, your brother came with subtlety and has taken away your blessing.
Well, did he really take away the blessing? Did he really take it away? First of all, Yahweh gave that already to him from the womb. And then second of all, he traded his birthright. The blessing come with the birthright. For a pot, for some food. That means you hated your inheritance. You hated your spiritual inheritance. And that's what we do. That's the same spirit from there in the beginning. The same spirit that was there with Cain. You hate your inheritance when you lightly esteem his word. When you say, I don't care about this salvation forever with the Messiah as kings and queens and reigning forever in the kingdom. I don't care about all that. Give me this car. Give me this gold. Give me this woman right now. That's right now. I just care about right now. And then when you give that away and you see your blessings are starting to be taken away and given to somebody who esteems the blessing, then you're like, oh, but bless me too. Oh, help me too. Go ahead. You didn't want that blessing, so he's going to give you some carnality because you didn't really want that blessing.
Indeed. There's an interesting concept happening here that Yitzchak had done, in where he called on Esau's name, but he laid his hands on Yaakov with the confirmation of that touch. So it's almost like we could call on Yah's name, but if we're touching this cup, say, oh, this mighty El, thank you, mighty El. Y'all's gonna be like, no, you in confusion and transgression. You're touching and agreeing that this is me and that's not me. And we have to make sure that we understand what Yah's Shem and name is. We can't call on his name and in our hearts we thinking this cup.
This cup, right.
We can't call on his name and in our hearts we thinking Baal. When we call the Elohim of Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Abraham, we know the works that Yah has done. So in those things, we are touching and agreeing with those men that the one who parted the seas, and we're confirming his character and his Shem. And we can confirm with the calling on the name. But you can't just call on Yah's name and turns out you're not really touching and agreeing, and you believing a lie and causing, there's a scripture about it, but it's basically causing it to be void or null, or nullifying the power of his command, or limiting Elohim.
Right. Verse 36.
And he said, is not he rightly named Yaakov? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright.
Really? He took it? Or he kept his covenant.
You forfeited.
You didn't keep your covenant. You tried to take his food and turn around and take the blessing back that you gave. You had no intention of keeping that covenant. So you have no intention of keeping the covenant. What you going to do with this blessing?
You know, Aki, this is like the spiritual this is like the spiritual reward for Adam. It's like, not Adam, for Abel, where Abel was righteous but was supplanted by his brother and slain. And then Yah corrects it down the line with this spirit here where it says,
he's the one that should have been living, even though, you know, the line went through Seth. So you see that supplanting happening in here. That's a good analogy.
Yep. And now y'all,
he's correcting it back. Wait a minute, you weren't the one that's supposed to be here. He's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But he gonna allow you to do it to yourself. You had an opportunity, you had a chance, but you did this to yourself.
Indeed.
All we gotta do is throw some little fleshly stuff for you, and then there it is. You're ready to give up you ready to give up the kingdom.
You took the bait. It ain't we didn't coerce you, but you took the bait. And y'all showed when that spirit is in power, that's what it does. It just falls right for the bait. It doesn't do what's righteous, it does what's fleshly. And y'all showed the supremacy of a righteous spirit.
Lightly esteem the rock of your salvation.
Indeed, and your birthright. Verse 37. Okay. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? And Yitzchak answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him your master. And all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto you, my son? And Esau said unto his father, have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yitzchak his father answered and said unto him, behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above.
That's the same thing you just said to Yaakov. Go ahead.
And by your sword shall you live, and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass when you shall have the dominion, that you shall break his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Yaakov.
All right, we can stop right there. So this spirit of wrath and anger and jealousy will not just go away when you calm down. It's going to cause you to hate somebody because they did better than you. And this is why a lot of people will hate you, because you trying to keep you esteeming this inheritance and this blessing to the utmost. And you're being received. The Most High is showing you, I approve of you. And when the spirit of Cain, the spirit of Esau, the spirit of the adversary, the devil comes out here, it will try to convert you into that, to lightly esteem your inheritance and your blessing so that you can satisfy your flesh at that exact moment. And when you're doing that, you're encompassing that same spirit of Cain and Esau.
And then he tried to do pull the same stunt. I'm gonna kill my brother.
Let's go to Bamidbar chapter 20. Numbers chapter 20. We stopped that at verse 41. Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 20. And this is getting into the story of Moshe smoting the rock.
The enemy don't do nothing new. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same tactics, the murder, the envy, the slander. But Yah gave you the antidote. He said, do things by my spirit, and you shall have the dominion over all this evil. And it doesn't change. Do those things, and you will deliver yourself and not have the evil reign over you. Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 20 and verse 1. Then came the children of Yasharal, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moshe and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moshe and spoke, saying, if only that we had died when our brethren died before Yahweh. And why have you brought up the congregation of Yahweh into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And why have you made us to come up out of Mitzrayim to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And Moshe and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of Yahweh appeared unto them. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Take the rod, and gather you the assembly together, you and Aaron your brother, and speak you unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and you shall bring forth to them water out of the rock. So you shall give the congregation and their beasts drink.
Now, what you have to understand as being a servant of the Most High, that people are very weary of cursing the Most High, because they fear him to a certain extent, because they know, well, there's something greater than me out there. I don't truly know it, but they fear it. So what they're going to do is, when they're getting dealt with because of their own actions, and they know that the Most High is allowing this, they're going to take it out on you. They're going to blame you because they can't. You're physical. They're already carnal. They can touch you and blame you. It's all your fault. But yet, when all these miracles are happening and all that stuff, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to turn around and try to give you all the credit, like you the one doing all these things. So on both sides, you got to make sure that you are not getting all the credit and you are not getting all the blame. Because once they start blaming you for all these things, and you care for the Most High, you know that they're really angry against the Most High, but they're taking it out on you. And that kind of gets you in a state where you're now being angered, because it's like, how are you going to get upset with me when you know the Most High has done all these things for you and for these people? And this is how Moshe slipped, because it wasn't necessarily he was angry for himself. He was angry, like, how could you do this to the Most High? And it seems like an innocent anger. And I felt that anger before to a loved one. I'm like, how can you do this to the Most High after he's done all this for us? And in my mind, I felt justified for that anger. But at the end of the day, anger is anger, and it could cause you to slip. And now if you can piss Moshe off, who are we?
You know, brother, and then just reading it now, although they're murmuring, you can see that Yah is even still trying to come up with a way to administer generosity unto them, administer his mercy unto them. And Yah had no intention of wrapping his gift in an evil package, you know, to make it, here, take this, all you people. He was like, no, I want to manifest my mercy. He said, take the rod, gather the assembly together, speak to the rock before their eyes, give them water, give it to their beasts. He goes out there and he like defiles Yah's gift and Yah's goodwill toward men. Right. And he pretty much had to suffer for that. And I think that's what we have to remember is to continually present Yah's gift. Yes, we have zeal, and yes, we have a passion to see everything we know as good, even the little box we know as good, and defend, like, look, this is righteousness. We have to give heed to this righteousness. But it's good to make sure that the way we're presenting it is presented in the manner that Yah wants. Speak unto the rock, petition the people. You know, it's almost like you're seducing, but you're not doing it in a
soft answer turns away wrath.
So you're like, you're not seducing to deceive, but you're like, here, this is Yah's love song to you. This is Yah pleading. This is Yah speaking kindly, speaking peaceably unto you. His goodwill is meant for our increase. And we have to be wary of not presenting it with a wrathful, you better do this or else. It should be look, you're not going to find peace like this anywhere else in the earth, so that these people can willfully turn themselves over to such a thing instead of being forced into it, or feel like they're being pressured into doing something, or believe Yah or else. But Yah's like, I don't want to come to you like that. Believe me or else. Although I did say it in my covenant,
I came to you like that. That didn't work. So what is the goal? The goal is to bring you to the water. So let me change my approach. So he changed his approach, because you can't forget the goal because you're angry.
There you go.
Because now you're doing it in vanity. It's just vain. You're doing it just to do it.
Or show your power.
And Moshe failed to sanctify because he did not offer it in the way that the Most High said to offer it. But he still did it. The people, like the elder said, the people still got the water. But now now the adversary's disputing over your body, if
you're righteous or not.
Right.
Verse 9. And Moshe took the rod from before Yahweh as he commanded him.
No, it was 7.
No, we read 8 because he said he's going to give his beast to drink at the end of 8.
Right.
Verse 9, and Moshe took the rod from before Yahweh as he commanded him. And Moshe and Aaron gathered the congregation before the rock. And he said unto them, hear now, you rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock?
What's this we stuff? Was Yahweh giving you water, but now it's we.
He's all in his feelings now.
He's all in. He's like he's anger, and this is a meek person, and he's angry for the Most High, but he's not recognizing that temperature. He's not being sensitive. That sensitive training. He's not, and he's human.
The enemy, you have to remember, the enemy is like provoking crafty. At any time he can. This is the righteous exodus, the light unto the nations, the thing that's going to get the world out of the enemy's hands. So of course he's going to try and thwart it, especially at the leadership.
Right.
And Moshe and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock and said, hear now, you rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moshe lifted up his hand, and with his rod, he smote the rock twice.
Right.
And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts.
Now, he was supposed to talk to the rock, and water was supposed to come out. But now there's doubt, because he is now in his anger and his transgression, knowing that he was supposed to talk to the rock. Now he hit it, and even if he was going to hit it, it's coming. The water's coming. But he's doubting himself now. And now the people doubt, like, well, wait a minute. Is this going to work? So now doubt is spreading. His anger is spreading. He's wondering now, is Yah going to, embarrass me out here? All this is a bad look. When he was the leader, he was supposed to be level-headed. Go ahead.
That reminds me of when they wanted fire to come down from heaven. Yahshua was like, not what manner folly you serve. And Moshe kind of probably, went over on that point as well.
You know where they got it from? They got it from the book. They got it from reading some old scriptures, like the fire came down. And what was it, Elijah?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you can understand where they came from, but this is why Yahshua had to come and be like, okay, let's put this in perspective now.
Remind you who Yah is as well. And not only this, he's this as well.
Let me show you his Shem. Let me explain his Shem, because at this point, all y'all know is Yahweh, they took you out of Egypt. So let me explain Yahweh that's going to bring you into the kingdom.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Verse 12. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and Aaron, because you believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Yasharal.
He believed him. He wouldn't have to strike the rock twice. He wouldn't have to strike the rock at all. He wouldn't have to put no pressure into it.
And even at that, if Yah was with him with striking the rock, could have happened at the first time, but he had to will it like, hit it again. And Yah was like, that first one where it didn't happen was because I wasn't with you like that.
He should have spoke to it like, all right, Yah. All right, I shouldn't have hit this rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
To show a contrast.
My bad. Let the water come. Let the water come. But you, like the elder said, you beating on that rock. That rock of that foundation, the rock that gave the water. The water is Yahshua's, the spirit, the life, the flow, the living waters. The rock is his word. The Mashiach. And out of that word comes the living waters, and you are now striking it. You are beating it instead of it being a foundation for you.
And we have to remember, too, that's how Yahweh would work with us, where it was like he hit the rock and hit the second time. I was like, I'm going to make the water come out, but you're going to suffer for this.
You're going to suffer loss.
Yep. And we have to remember that we're not doing that in our own lives, where we're trying to force Yahweh to comply with our will. And if we pressure it enough, he'll give it to us. But there's going to be consequence on top of that, because we're breaking the rule or trying to do something lawlessly, unlawfully. Verse 13. This is the water of Meribah, because the children. We're still at verse 12. Because therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. Verse 13. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Yasharal strove with Yahweh, and he was sanctified in them.
All right, we'll stop right there. We stopped at verse 13. All right, let's go to Bamidbar, chapter 35. And the Most High, his laws make provisions. Numbers chapter 35. His law makes provision for anger because he knows we're human beings. And especially when we're in an emotional state, when we have suffered a great loss. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, if you out there threatening my wife, you know, there's going to be a lot of wrath and recompense. I'm hope that the spirit will be over me. But, you know, this is an emotional thing. You know, you're not just, you know, calling me a name which means nothing to me. You know, so when you're dealing with hot emotions where you have family members dying, whether it was accidental or intentional, that pain run deep. So the Most High is making provisions to protect the person who made the mistake and also to protect the person who's in a highly heightened emotional state that is probably going to last for a while because it's a permanent situation that's happening.
You know it's going to be a problem. Even the name Mirabah means strife.
And it looks like, you know, y'all wants to make sure that there's nothing we can do that'll be just an end all be all. You know, your anger is like, oh, you're immediately cut off. He tries to make concessions to help us work through without perverting judgment.
Right.
The only thing we've seen so far as the end all be all is if you blaspheme against the Ruach.
Right. You stop somebody else, you know, from receiving life. You're trying to take that away. You kill somebody. You know, that's one thing. But when you're killing somebody's spirit that they're going to live, they're going to eventually die anyways, but you're trying to kill their opportunity to live forever, that is a very, very wicked thing. And the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth, and the truth is this word, the light of man, Yasharah. And you're trying to blaspheme that and make that bad, which is supposed to be good, which means you're taking something good and trying to make something bad. You're perverting everything.
Bamidbar, Numbers, chapter 35 and verse 1. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Yasharal that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And you shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them.
So the Levites did not have a land of Levi. So in the cities within each tribe, they were given land like poor people. They were given suburbs outside of the cities where they would be able to do the service of the law. Go ahead.
And the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which you shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits round about. And you shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which you shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which you shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee there. And to them you shall add 42 cities. So all the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities. Them shall you give with their suburbs. And the cities which you shall give shall be of the possession of the children of Yasharal. From them that have many you shall give many, but from them that have few you shall give few. Everyone shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance, which he inherits.
Again, everything you have does not belong to you. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, When you be come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee there, which kills any person at unawares. And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not, until he stand before the congregation in judgment. And of these cities which you shall give 6 cities shall you have for a refuge. You shall give 3 cities on this side Jordan. 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the chosen of Yasharal and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that everyone that kills any person unaware may flee there.
So it wasn't just, righteousness just for us. He had that same compassion for the other nations as well. Go ahead.
And if he smite him with an instrument of iron so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. And if he smite him with a throwing stone wherewith he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he smite him with a hand weapon of wood wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meets him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meets him. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, where he was fled. And he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil.
So what we're seeing here is Yahweh is putting a difference between different types of killings. So if he's putting a difference between different types of killing between a murderer and a manslayer, unawares, then that means we can't dish out wrath and anger and recompense off rip because we angry, because it wasn't intended that way. We have to seek diligently into the matter. Go ahead.
Verse
27.
26.
26. Yeah.
But if the slayer shall at any time come out the border of the city of his refuge where he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. Okay,
so let's look at this from a spiritual eye. What is the wages of sin? Do you own this temple? So when you sin, you have committed murder. You have killed yourself. Yah has allowed this word, and he's allowed these repentance to be our hedge to cover us. The Mashiach, his word, to cover us. But when we step outside of that hedge and start to go into further transgression by not following the instructions of the Most High, who is outside waiting for us? The avenger, the enemy, the adversary, the devil. He's a what? A roaring what?
Lion.
Looking for whom he what?
May devour.
He may devour. So this is part of stepping outside of your hedge. And if it's going to be anger or wrath or envy or jealousy, whatever the case may be, that's going to cause you to step outside when it's mercy that you're still alive because you unaware, you didn't know better, and you committed that transgression. But if you knew better and you went and committed that transgression, there's no sacrifice for you. You're a murderer and you will be put to death. Go ahead and finish that up.
Verse 29. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations and in all your dwellings. Whoso kills any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer which is guilty of death. but he shall surely be put to death.
So you ain't supposed to be enjoying, because Yah says himself, he does not take pleasure in the death of the wicked, but he has pleasure in judgment, because he has to keep things equitable. So we shouldn't be enjoying and torturing people in all these inhumane ways that we kill people. That's taking joy in that. Go ahead.
And you shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the high priest. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are. For blood it defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit wherein I dwell, for I Yahweh dwell among the children of Yasharal.
All right, and who defiled the land?
The children of Yasharal.
So the blood of the children of Yasharal had to cleanse that land, and this is why we got slaughtered over there. But the earth has been defiled, and it's not just us. So it's going to be a time for the rest of the nations to have their blood shed and their slaughtering. All right, so we're going to stop right there. Again, we just want to keep in mind and understand that the anger and the wrath is coming from a place of pride. And we have to understand that when we take that pride in our hands, we're taking away the glory from the Most High, because he loves righteous judgment. And we are now putting unrighteous judgment because we are not given and appointed to dish out the punishment to somebody. So by any means, we have to allow for the glory of the Most High for people to say, yeah, remember this guy over here? Remember how he killed this person, or he did that, he did that? Look what happened to him. The Most High took care of that business. Now you have people have a stronger faith and understanding to say, you know what, I don't need to take this in my own hands, because the Most High is going to handle his business. Or, you remember that guy? I wanted to hurt this guy. I wanted to do this, but I didn't, because I knew Yah was going to deal with him. And we don't know what happened behind the closed scenes that happened to people. Just like most people that don't know us, they don't know what happened to us to get us to the point that we're in here. If somebody would have took the judgment out on us and ended our lives, we wouldn't be sitting right here. And there's things that we may have done that may have been worthy of us a more harsher punishment. So again, the same measure we meet, that's the same measure we're going to be met with. And we need to be met with a whole lot of mercy. So that means we should be giving out a whole lot of mercy liberally. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. All brothers remove their head coverings, and all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. All right, Brother Jonathan, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer, please?
Most righteous and eternal Father Yah, you are worthy of all glory, you are worthy of all praise, you are worthy to be magnified above all nations, Yahweh. And we exalt you as the sovereign Elohim, the Elohim of hosts, Yah. We thank you, Yahweh, as we profess your name and call upon your Shem, Yahweh. We know that you are jealous. We know that you are the revenger of blood. Yahweh, we know that you are also the judgment keeper and the merciful one, O Yah. And we will proclaim your name among these nations, Yahweh, having this Torah written upon our hearts as a new covenant, Yahweh. And we will apply it in our lives, Yahweh, at every avenue, in every crevice, in every corner of our lives, Yahweh. We plan to shine this light of Torah among our peers, among anyone that we're around, Yahweh. Allow us to continue to be a light. For you, Yahweh, are the sovereign King of all the earth. So let us not be ashamed, but walk boldly and righteously and confidently in this law that you have given unto us. We thank you and we bless you in the name of Yeshua we pray. Amen.
Amen.